Psychology says people who prefer winter aren't just choosing a season, they're revealing something fundamental about how their brain handles stimulation, emotion, and control. Most people chase sunlight, heat, and constant activity. They associate summer with happiness and winter with gloom. But winter-preferring minds move in the opposite direction, not because they lack energy, but because they protect it differently. Their preference isn't about seasonal depression or negativity, it's about optimal cognitive functioning. Here's what psychology actually shows about people who genuinely prefer the cold months. 1. Sensory load and mental clarity. Winter fundamentally reduces sensory input in the environment. There are fewer crowds filling public spaces, less ambient noise penetrating your awareness, muted colors replacing the visual intensity of summer, and slower, more deliberate movement everywhere you look. Psychological research on sensory processing shows that some brains reach overload faster than others. It's not a weakness, it's a difference in processing capacity and tolerance. People who prefer winter often have a lower tolerance for chaotic, high-intensity stimulation. The constant bombardment of summer, bright sun, loud gatherings, packed beaches, endless social obligations, can create cognitive fatigue for them. Cold weather naturally quiets the environment, and that quiet helps their brain function at its optimal level. They don't feel bored in winter silence, they feel clear. Their thoughts organize better. Their focus sharpens. Their mental bandwidth expands when the external noise decreases. 2. Thermal focus. Heat demands constant physical attention from your body and mind. You're managing sweating, dealing with discomfort, fighting irritability, and battling the mental fatigue that comes with elevated body temperature. Your brain dedicates resources to thermal regulation that could otherwise be used for thinking, creating, or problem-solving. Cold does the opposite. Psychology links cooler environments to improved focus and mental endurance. People who prefer winter often notice they can think longer, work deeper, and stay mentally stable when their body isn't constantly fighting against heat. For them, comfort isn't primarily physical, it's mental. They'd rather wear an extra layer and have complete mental clarity than be physically warm but mentally foggy. This preference reveals where their priorities lie: cognitive performance over physical ease. 3. Energy protection mindset. Summer culture pushes constant output. The social messaging is relentless. Go out, be active, be social, be visible, make the most of the weather, don't waste the sunshine. There's an implicit pressure that if you're not constantly doing something during summer, you're somehow failing to live properly. Winter allows and even encourages controlled energy use. Psychology shows that winter-preferring individuals are more likely to protect their energy intentionally. They don't automatically respond to external pressure to always be on. They consciously choose when to engage and when to withdraw, and they do so without guilt. This isn't laziness or antisocial behavior, it's strategic resource management. They understand that their energy is finite and valuable, and they allocate it deliberately rather than responding to seasonal social expectations. 4. Emotional containment. Heat amplifies emotion in measurable ways. Studies consistently show that higher temperatures increase irritability, impulsive reactions, and emotional reactivity. There's even research linking heat waves to increased conflict and aggression. People who prefer winter often experience significantly better emotional regulation in colder conditions. Their emotions stay contained and proportional to situations. Their reactions stay measured rather than explosive. Winter gives their mind the space to respond thoughtfully rather than react impulsively. The cooler temperature creates a kind of emotional buffer that allows for processing before action. This doesn't mean they're emotionally cold or detached. It means they have better access to emotional intelligence when the environment isn't artificially amplifying their feelings. 5. Identity independence. Seasonal preferences carry strong social coding. Summer is universally celebrated, associated with happiness, freedom, and vitality. Winter is often criticized, associated with sadness, isolation, and hardship. Choosing winter despite this cultural narrative reveals something psychologically significant. These individuals rely more on internal preference than social approval. They don't automatically adopt what's popular or socially validated. They choose what genuinely works for their nervous system and cognitive style. This independence shows up far beyond seasonal preferences. It typically extends to how they make decisions, form opinions, and live their lives generally. They're less susceptible to social pressure because they've learned to trust their own experience over collective messaging. 6. Inward orientation. Cold environments naturally pull attention inward. When it's cold outside, you're more likely to be inside, in quieter spaces, with fewer distractions. Psychology connects this inward shift to higher levels of reflection, self-awareness, and cognitive depth. People who prefer winter often genuinely enjoy thinking, creating, planning, analyzing, or understanding complex systems. They don't need constant external stimulation to feel alive or engaged. Their mental life is rich enough to sustain interest without constant novelty from the environment. This inward orientation isn't depression or withdrawal, it's a different relationship with consciousness itself. 7. Environmental control. Winter requires preparation. You need appropriate layers, careful timing, structured planning. Psychology shows that winter-preferring minds value controlled environments, not because they fear chaos or lack adaptability, but because control improves their performance. When the environment is managed and predictable, their mind expands into its full capacity. Uncertainty and chaos don't energize them, they drain cognitive resources that could be used for deeper work. 8. Selective social connection. Winter naturally reduces casual, superficial interaction. Only intentional connection survives the cold. People who prefer winter often value quality over quantity in relationships. They're selective with their attention, selective with their time, and selective with which people receive their energy. This isn't coldness or social dysfunction, it's precision. They'd rather have 3 deep conversations than 30 shallow ones. Final thoughts. Preferring winter does not mean you're depressed, emotionally distant, or inherently negative. It means your brain thrives in calm, low noise, emotionally stable conditions. And those minds are often misunderstood because they don't advertise their depth. If this described you better than any personality test ever has, you're not alone. Once you understand your psychology, you can stop apologizing for how you're wired.